For this presentation, I picked the search engine 10 Little Indians by Alex Shervin and picked the theme of identity. The first quote is, "She was a spoken Indian, a salmon fisher by birth, but she was also a bookworm, a nerd, a geek, and a library fiend." The reason I picked this quote is it helps illustrate the multi-faced nature of Cloris's identity, and it shows how she navigates multiple identities, which blends into her cultural heritage with her personal interests and her passions. The second quote I picked was, "Cloris had always felt like an outsider, even among her own people." The reason I picked this quote was because it captures Cloris's sense of alienation and her struggle to find a place where she truly does belong. It highlights the internal conflict she faces regarding her identity within her community. The third quote is, "She wanted to find herself in the pages of a book, to see her own reflection in the words of another Indian." The reason I picked this quote is because it shows that she has a desire for her representation and validation. She seeks to understand her own identity through these experiences in the stories of others who share her cultural background. The next quote was, "He was an Indian poet and she was an Indian reader. They were connected by words and blood." I feel this quote emphasizes the connection between the identity and cultural heritage. It shows how Cloris finds a sense of belonging and kinship through shared cultural and literary experiences. The next quote is, "Cloris knew that being an Indian was a complicated thing, full of contradictions and conflicts." I feel that this quote acknowledges the complexity of Cloris's identity, and it highlights the internal and external conflicts that she faces as she navigates through her cultural identity. She felt like she was living in two worlds, the Indian world and the white world, and she didn't fully belong to either. I think this is a good quote because it illustrates the duality of Cloris's identity and the challenges of straddling two different cultures, and it also underscores her struggle to reconcile these aspects of her identity. Books were her escape, her way of understanding the world and the place in it. I feel this quote shows how literature serves as a tool for Cloris to explore and understand her identity. The books provide her with a means to escape and reflect on her own life and her own experiences. In the end, she realized that her identity was not just about being Indian, but about being herself. The reason I picked this quote is because I feel that it encapsulates Cloris's journey towards self-acceptance, and it really highlights the realization that her identity is multi-faced and not solely defined by her cultural background, but also her personal experiences and individuality. Cloris wondered what happens to a book that sits unread in a library shelf for 30 years. Can a book rightfully be called a book if it never gets read? The reason I picked this quote is because it reflects her complication of purpose and existence, paralleling her own search for identity and meaning. It questions the value of something or someone that is not acknowledged or utilized, much like her own feelings that she overlooks. The last quote that I picked for this project is, "She didn't believe in magic, she believed in books. She believed in a good story. She believed in words, and words are magic." This quote really highlights Cloris's belief system and how she finds identity, meaning through literature. It shows her reliance on books and to understand the world and herself, emphasizing the transformative power of words. And this is my works cited.